I never thought this would be a reality, but I think Trump's trying to break Canada. In the last 48 hours, he's hammered them with 25% tariffs, suggested they should be more dependent on the U.S., and even called them the 51st state. This isn't just about trade. This is about control, leverage, and I'm thinking it's about something quite a bit bigger. Now, what if Canada is already at risk of breaking apart on its own? What if Trump is simply accelerating the process? We'll start off by looking at Trump's trade war with Canada and whether this is just a classic negotiation tactic or something more aggressive. Next, we'll explore the pressure points inside Canada: regional fractures, economic dependency, and political instability. After that, energy. Energy is one of the most important pieces of this geopolitical chessboard. And finally, we'll look at the long-term consequences, what happens next, and whether Canada, as we know it, is actually at risk. Before we dive in, if you enjoy in-depth geopolitical breakdowns, support the channel by checking out our links in the description. It helps us keep bringing you hard-hitting analysis you won't hear anywhere else. Let's start with Trump's trade war. Is it a negotiation or a strategic play? On March 4th, Trump imposed massive 25% tariffs on Canadian imports, justifying it with concerns about border security, fentanyl trafficking, and what he calls Canada's unfair trade advantage. Trudeau, in response, called the moves a very dumb thing to do and retaliated with tariffs on $30 billion worth of U.S. goods, promising even more to come. But is this really about trade, or is Trump playing a deeper game? Canada isn't just another trading partner. It is, by most metrics, almost an economic extension of the United States. The U.S. accounts for 75% of Canada's exports. The U.S. takes 90% of its crude oil. The two economies are deeply linked, and if one of them suffers, the other feels it too. But unlike the U.S., Canada does not have the leverage to fight back. By hitting Canada with tariffs and publicly questioning its sovereignty, Trump is testing how far Canada can be pushed before it has no choice but to align with U.S. interests. This isn't just economic hardball, it's economic pressure with a purpose. The 51st state rhetoric. Is it a joke or a signal? Trump isn't just imposing tariffs. He's using loaded language. He has mockingly referred to Justin Trudeau as the governor of Canada, and in a recent Super Bowl interview, he floated the idea that Canada might as well be a U.S. state. This might sound like typical Trump bluster, but let's be honest, Trump doesn't say things just for fun. He plants narratives over and over until they start to sound normal. Canada's economic dependency on the U.S. isn't new, but what Trump is doing now is making that dependency more visible, more undeniable. If Canada's economy takes a serious hit, what does that do to the national unity? What happens when provinces like Alberta, already frustrated with Ottawa, start seeing Washington as a more reliable economic partner? What about Canada's internal fractures? Is it already breaking? Canada is already under strain. In Quebec, separatist sentiment has never fully died. In Alberta, a province rich in oil and natural gas, resentment against Ottawa is at an all-time high. Trudeau's energy policies have alienated large portions of the population, and now with the U.S. turning up the heat, those tensions could explode. Imagine this scenario. The economy takes a serious hit from Trump's tariffs. Alberta, tired of Ottawa's restrictions on its energy industry, starts talking about secession. Quebec's nationalist movement gets reinvigorated. What happens then? Trump doesn't need to actively push for Canada to break apart. He just needs to create the conditions where it starts happening on its own. Then there's energy. Canada is the biggest supplier of oil to the U.S., sending over 4 million barrels per day. If Canada retaliates with export restrictions, America could feel the pinch. But here's the twist. Trump's America is moving forward with energy, is moving toward energy independence. Trump has repeatedly said that the U.S. doesn't need foreign energy. He's ramping up domestic oil production, cutting regulations, and pushing policies that make American energy the priority. If Canada loses its ability to use oil exports as leverage, what does it have left? If Trump weakens Canada's economy while making the U.S. less reliant on Canadian oil, that's a strategic win for Washington. Canada becomes economically dependent on the U.S. just as Trump forces Ottawa to negotiate from a position of weakness. Okay, so now we're here. What happens next? Is Trump actually trying to break Canada? Maybe. Or maybe he's just pushing for a weaker, more dependent Canada. A country forced to accept American dominance. Either way, this isn't just a trade dispute anymore. It's a geopolitical power play. What do you think? Is Trump setting up Canada for an economic collapse? Or is this just his way of forcing a better deal? Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe for more hard-hitting geopolitical analysis. This is Frank. See you next time.